now. And I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Kathy Keller. And I will turn my camera off at this time. However, I am still here. So thank you.
Hey, thanks, Nicole, and good morning, everyone. So nice to have you with us today. We've been doing this series in a live sessions for about 4 years now. And actually, I've done it for many different organizations for about 11 or 12 years. And one of the very nice things about it is when unfortunately the pandemic hit last year and we were not able to meet in person any longer, we quickly turned it into a virtual series. And we've had many good comments on that. We ran one last year. The nice thing is that Nicole is recording this. So we will send each of you a private link, which you'll have access to go back and review anything that you may have missed. Again, to look at the PowerPoint itself and to help you along the way. So what can you expect from this 6-week course? If I can get this slideshow to move, there we go. All right, so the 6-week course that I just mentioned, March 23rd through April the 27th of 2021. It appears we're having a little hesitation in moving forward, so bear with me here a minute till I get this rolling. There we go. So the outcomes from the courses, we will learn how to start our business right in the state of Ohio. Business startups do vary a little bit state by state, and we obviously are going to concentrate on the state of Ohio, assuming that all of you are located in Ohio. There will be weekly written assignments, which I actually will call implementation. If you follow the implementation sessions week to week, in the end, you will have a complete formal written business plan for your business. You will also have a completed cash flow projections for your business. We will concentrate on year 1, and then we will also learn how to project that out into year 2 and year 3, which is very common in today's environment. And if you're looking for any sort of funding for your business, generally speaking, they will want to see 3-year cash flow projections. We will also cover beginning accounting practices for small businesses. We'll have an introduction to marketing, which is obviously a very huge field, but we will also then give you an introduction, and we will do some follow-up sessions where we will get in a little more in depth with some of our local marketing experts. We will discuss the business funding opportunities that exist. The word I hear more than anything is grants for small businesses, and we will address those opportunities. And this will give you an opportunity to participate in Lima Pitch Fest for cash prizes in the fall. And actually, at the current time, we are working with a couple of potential program sponsors. And so hopefully we'll be able to work with one of them, get a sponsorship for that Pitch Fest, and then you will be invited to participate in the fall. With that being said, we do intend to offer another one of these sessions in the fall. And so we will combine both the spring session and the fall session participants and invite them to participate in the same Pitch Fest. So with that, I am also going to stop my video, and I will still be here and talking because you don't need to watch my face. I'd rather you watch the screen. So as Nicole indicated, if you have any questions, please raise your hand or put them in the chat box. She will be moderating. If it's an issue that needs to be covered primarily before we move forward, we will address it at that time. I want this to be interactive. So again, we're used to doing face-to-face. If there's anything that you are unclear about or would like to discuss, please feel free and we will do that. I will add that we'll have time for Q&A at the end. So if you have pen and paper there, want to jot down a question, so you don't forget it by the time we're finished here at the end, that's wonderful too. So whatever you're comfortable with, please, this session is built for you and we encourage your participation. All right, so let's get into the good stuff. What is an entrepreneur? Well, we're being on a little bit of a delay here. I'm wondering, I'm going to jump out of here for a second and see if I close another window, if perhaps that will speed things up a little bit.
Kathy, do you want me to turn on their microphones or just use their raise hand in chat box?
For now, let's try just doing
Chat.
the chat.
Okay.
And then my question is, right, we're going to try this again. I apologize for that. So we're going to talk about entrepreneurship. What is an entrepreneur? An entrepreneur is a risk-taking business person. It is somebody who initiates or finances new commercial enterprises. There we go. So, what does it take to be an entrepreneur? You've obviously joined us today because you have an interest in entrepreneurship. The number one thing it takes is passion. You must be passionate about what you do because being an entrepreneur is very difficult. If you're passionate about it, you're going to be more likely to be persistent, and it takes lots of persistence. It takes good health and energy. You might think, why is that? And again, it's because typically being an entrepreneur requires 24/7. It doesn't stop when 5 o'clock comes. And so we have to be able to work long hours and we have to be energized in order to sustain that type of schedule. It takes creativity and innovation, independence and self-reliance. You are the entrepreneur. Everything happens according to your control and the buck stops with you. It takes intuition, self-confidence, market awareness of your product or service, and the ability to accept challenges because there will be many. There will be bumps along the road. There might be barriers, but there are ways around those. And most of all, it takes hard work ethics. Oftentimes people think they want to be their own boss. They want to be an entrepreneur because it's going to be easy work. Well, I'm here to tell you that in my 15 years of experience as the director of the Small Business Development Center at Rhodes State College, many of my successful entrepreneurs have told me they've never worked so hard in their life. However, it is also very, very rewarding. And there's lots of advantages for being an entrepreneur. So what are some of the common traits of an entrepreneur? Generally speaking, and again, these are generalizations. It doesn't mean you can't be an entrepreneur if you don't have these traits. Some traits can be learned, but generally speaking, one or both parents are or was self-employed. So if you were a child who grew up in a home where at least one parent was self-employed, it's more likely that you will try your hand at starting a business. They're in business at a young age, mowing lawns, shoveling snow, delivering some product or house cleaning. The enterprising adult first appears as the enterprising youth. And I would assume that most of us were entrepreneurs in our youth and had no idea that we were even being entrepreneurs, right? We just did it to make a little extra money, perhaps, or to work towards something that we really set our minds to. They're very sociable people. More often than not, they are charming as well as very sociable. This better equips them to charm the right banker, the suppliers, their customer, and etc. to get what it is that you want. I mean, aside from that, I'm sure that you've often encountered or from time to time have encountered an entrepreneur that is not very sociable. And I don't know about you, but generally speaking, I am inclined to do less business with those not so sociable people because they're just not so fun to be around, right? And they're very well organized. Good organizational skills are the basis to making qualified decisions. That's a general rule of thumb, I do believe, as we go through life. Again, if you're not the most well organized person, there are ways to learn to do that. And as you go through entrepreneurship, you'll find things that also help you assess what that does. So, unfortunately, business failures are at one of the highest rates ever. And quite honestly, only 2% of the businesses that start end up making it to their 5-year anniversary. Many of them have a good run in years 1 through 5, but oftentimes they don't even make it to that 5th year. And so that's very unfortunate. So let's look at why a business would fail. And as an entrepreneur, by avoiding these mistakes, you are more likely to succeed. So the number one reason is not understanding the amount of money that's needed to get started. Keep this rule of thumb in mind. Everything takes longer than expected, and everything costs more than projected. My clients will say, "Oh, I think I might need $20,000 to start up this business, and that's doable for me." Well, how did you arrive at that $20,000? And they start listing things, and then we'll start saying, "Well, but did you consider this? Or have you thought about this? And what about the first couple of months? The day that you open your door doesn't mean that they will come, and certainly doesn't mean that you're going to be doing anything but paying the bills. So you have no money left for some of the extras. So we need to build some of that in as well. Because if you start out and don't have enough money, you're behind the 8 ball to begin with. And it's very, very difficult, just like in your personal budgets, to get ahead and get on top of things. The second reason that a business would fail is a failure to develop goals and strategies, which is why we're encouraging to build this business plan that we're going to be working on together over the next 6 weeks. The best planned businesses are the most successful businesses. As a matter of fact, businesses that write and follow a written business plan are 30% more likely to succeed. That is not the only time you're going to hear me repeat that, because I think that is incredible. By taking the time, organizing your thoughts, your goals, and your strategies, you're automatically 30% ahead of the game. That's fantastic. There's a lack of understanding the customer's needs. So you think, well, I know what they want, I know what they need, but do you? Or is that your perception? Have you interacted with your customers? Have you surveyed them to truly see what it is they need? You may be looking at using an existing product and tweaking it or changing it or improving it a little bit, which might be what that particular product or market actually needs. Poor knowledge of the product or services offered. That's very difficult to get your head around sometimes because it's like, well, I know what my product is, but Do you know that it's the best product out there? For instance, if you're in retail and you're reselling something, have you done your research to know that's the best value? That's actually what your customers need? Bad or no marketing of the business. As I indicated, we will be talking about marketing, and marketing is absolutely the most important thing that you can do in your business. Oftentimes, when things get tough, the first thing that business people will want to cut is their marketing because it's not an essential. In other words, you don't have to pay, you have to pay the lease, you have to pay the electric, you have to pay your taxes. If you have employees, they must be paid. But marketing can go by the wayside. However, I have experienced more businesses who have come up short because during those times they have not marketed. And even when the market is down, when business is slow, for instance, through last year during the pandemic, when many businesses were even closed, those businesses that continued to market in some way or another actually were a step ahead when things did open back up because they continued to saturate the market to get their name out there. What are some other reasons that a business might fail? Please use your chat box and tell us why that might be. Nicole, are we got any ideas coming in?
No, we haven't said anything, but I was curious as to, maybe they're just not looking at their correct target market, or they haven't got involved. Like, one of the things we tend to see is, people think that just because they turned the open sign on or flipped it over in their window that people will come, the build it and people will come type analogy.
Absolutely. You are absolutely correct. And what we will learn as we go through the weeks is that marketing is not just advertising. So you're spot on, Nicole. Marketing means who is your client? And again, what are those customer needs? Okay. That's very important. And that's all part of your marketing plan, which we'll get into as we progress. Okay. Well, if there are no comments, then we'll just move ahead. And the biggest causes of business failure are due to neglect. Again, I indicated it's a 24/7 job. You start neglecting it, you will quickly see things go down. A
Raven
disaster.
mentioned poor decisions too. So now we have some people coming in with chats, Kathy.
There we go. Good. Good, good, good. There's my chat box. I couldn't see it. Goodness.
Poor customer service. And then also, motorific excursions had closed because they only had 12 runs, and their insurance had jumped from 14 to over 20,000, and their businesses, Motorific Creation and Motorific Music and Photo booth, still did 81 events in 2020. And then Richard had mentioned bad location.
Right. Absolutely. Very good. So, neglect. There you go. Some things we can and cannot. So, in response to Carrie at Motorific, economic factors is one of them. They had no control over their insurance, right? And that certainly affected them. A disaster. So, there you go. During the pandemic, what did our federal government do? They created the CARES Act, which supported disaster loans. So the pandemic was definitely a disaster, something none of us had control over. Absolutely. Fraud. Who's working for us? Are they trustworthy? If we're running a cash business, fraud can be very, very common. We have to look and take security measures so that we know that that is not happening to us. Lack of experience. If you have experience because of your passion, because of the business that you've decided to enter into, obviously you're going to have a head start because you've already been there, done that. For poor financial practices, it may not be that you're dealing with fraud or there isn't enough money, but perhaps you haven't planned your financial strategies well enough. And that leads into a lack of an overall total strategy. But 89.6% of all businesses fail due to bad management. And all of these factors that we talked about fall under poor management. So, you as an entrepreneur, and if you're working in your business, or if you hire someone to oversee the day to day operations, need to be sure that you're comfortable with the management strategies. So, why does a business succeed? Obviously, all of the reasons, the opposite of the reasons that we just saw, correct? So, again, as we talk about the reasons that businesses fail, the lack of strategy, the economic factors, lack of experience, some of those we can control. And those are what we're going to identify and focus on as we write our business plan. So, who can tell me another reason that a business might succeed? Let's use that chat box again. Let's shoot a couple ideas out there.
Yeah, so Carrie Motter with Motterific had mentioned that in 2020, she gathered her neighbors and friends and they made masks and sold them, turning her dining room into a sewing factory. And they had to, they created face masks and they helped 5 families, made money, and they had to be flexible.
Excellent, Carrie. And that's absolutely right. We often have to look at how can we diversify, not only during a pandemic or an economic downturn, but constantly. What can we do to keep up with the market and or our competition? So how can we diversify what we're doing? Another example, that's great that you have that talent to sew, and that is just really that's wonderful. It's a wonderful gift, and obviously very practical. And we know that there was a huge need for those masks, right?
Yeah.
So um, another example is look at our restaurants. So the restaurants were obviously shut down, but they couldn't stop not delivering their product to their customers. So we saw many of them turn to pick up curbside, order online, right? They had a better presence on Facebook so that you could look at their menu and place orders. Many of them had an app. When they did download, many of them have gone to the paperless menus. Those are all reasons that a business would succeed, and we're talking about diversion in there, diversifying, like Carrie brought. Absolutely great leadership. You've got to be the leader of your team. Investing back into your business, especially when it's young, that is correct. Many times, the owner of the business has to be prepared to not even get a salary for 6 months to a year. It's not uncommon. So, as we're planning, and we will ask the question, can I afford to not be paid? Positive attitude. It goes back to what we just discussed a few minutes ago. Being very sociable. That's right. And as I indicated, there's going to be bumps, there's going to be barriers, but you cannot let your customers know that that's happening within your business. You have to stay positive and know that there are people to help you, and you can work through those and around those. So there are basically 6 Ds of success: a desire that comes with vision, Diligence, making the most of opportunity. Details, include your organizational skills. Discipline, making sacrifices. Dedication, commitment to your purpose. Determination, to see your dreams through to completion. Don't let those bumps or barriers discourage you. You have to be determined and push through those. I'm going to share now just a couple of notable quotes that I think are worth looking at, and they also put you in the right frame of mind for entrepreneurship. I'm not going to read them to you. You're all capable of reading them.
Those are great. I need to print those off, Kathy, and put them on my desk. Those are pretty neat.
I love the keen sense of humor
Yeah.
because you have to laugh at yourself sometimes, even to tolerate the unpleasant, right? And outlast the unbearable. And then finally, I do live by this one every day, as I know many of you do. But we have a choice every day regarding the attitude we embrace for that day. And I am convinced, like Charles Swindoll was, that life is 10% what happens to me and 90% of how I react to it. We are in charge of our attitudes. Have a great day doesn't work. We have to make it a great day, right? Because everything isn't going to be peaches and roses, but we can make it a great day by learning from the past and overcoming the unexpected. So, there is only one essential ingredient that's needed to start a business. What is the only essential ingredient you need? Let's get some comments on that. What is the only essential ingredient that you're going to need to start a business? Is it money?
Jessica had mentioned yourself.
Aha, good answer.
Passion. Brandon mentioned passion.
That is correct.
Knowledge. Dreams, passion, and perseverance.
Good answer, Tara.
Skills.
Those certainly all help. You are absolutely correct. Ah, that's a good one. I'm seeing from Raven. Education. So, out of the four, we're going to vote. Is it money? Is it a product or service? Is it customers? Or is it management skills? Let's take a vote. A, B, C, or D. Just type it in there. Ah, Carrie says you need them all. Well, Christine, you're absolutely right. The only essential ingredient you need is customers, because you can have all the money in the world to buy those products and services. You can have the most education, the best management skills. And while they all work together to make a business successful, I agree with you all. And your answers were very good: the perseverance, the dreams, the passion. But the only thing you really need is customers. You need all those other things to keep your customers and to grow your customers, right? But the essential ingredient is your customers. because you can have all the products, the best management skill, the money, but if you don't have customers coming in and doing business with you, your business will be no more. So keep in mind that the essential ingredient is customers. And how are we going to keep and maintain our customers and grow our customer base? That is what is important. And the keys to success are a customer-driven philosophy. That is a must. We need to stay ahead of our competitive wave in order to keep and grow those customers. Increase customer loyalty. How can we do that with our product or services that we have? It's very common today to have a loyalty program, right? Continue to shop with us, to do business with us, and your fifth visit, you get a percentage off or you get something free. That is how businesses are trying to increase their customer loyalty. Value-based competitive edge. That doesn't mean what is the price. That doesn't mean is your price the lowest, but is your price value-based to make you competitive? If your price is more than your competition, what are you offering to make it a better value? And in the end, what you're selling is not just the product or service, but the value that is involved in the price that is being charged. Learning your business constantly. And that was mentioned in our comments. You're absolutely right. You've got to be willing to continually learn because it's an evolving process. Every day, there is something else that we must deal with. As we said before, some of those factors that are out of our control, like Carrie's insurance rising, like the pandemic. Let's say a flood, which some of our neighbors have experienced very recently in their businesses. What if there's a power outage? Your computers are down. You can't do business. There's constantly, we have to be learning how we're going to stay ahead of those. And what's our long-term survival? Not just for today or tomorrow, but how are we going to make it in the next 6 months, in the next year, to that 5-year anniversary and beyond? Faster turnaround time. In today's society, it's all about boom, 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 because we are used to computers. We're used to doing business on the internet, overnight shipping, all of these things that have come to make our world move at a faster pace. Whether you agree with it or don't agree with it, you can either sit back and do it in slow time, or you can make sure it's a faster turnaround time and your customers are satisfied because they have lots of choices for whatever product or service you have. And unfortunately, our society has built and taught us that we need it now, okay? Clearer goals and focused decision making. In other words, write them down. Write them in your business plan and follow them. Refine them. They're not written in stone. Every time that there is a new learning to your business, those goals should be looked at and perhaps rewritten if something has changed. Increased business with existing customers. Is it easier to keep a customer you have or to gain a new customer? Let's answer that question in the chat box, please. Existing or new? Is it easier to keep an existing customer or get a new one?
Yep, looks like the majority of people are keep.
Yep, absolutely. And while it's important to have both, you're absolutely right. We can't just rely on the customers that we now have. We always have to be looking for ways to gain new ones. But it is easier and less expensive to find or to keep the customer that has found you, okay? So always focus on them. What is working? What do they like? And how can you improve upon that? Because by doing that, eventually you're also going to attract new ones, okay? But those people that you have are a bird in a hand, and we have to keep them happy to keep them. Increased incentive for innovative learning. Always, always encourage your employees to continue learning all they can about your clients and about the business, and a written business plan. And as I said, it's not written in stone, it's a living, breathing document that will change continuously. And so I'm sure you have some questions about business plans. Some common questions are, isn't this for big companies only? How does planning help management? Can't I hire someone to do this for me? Let's address those three at this time. Isn't this for big companies only? And I say absolutely not. I don't care if you are a sole proprietor, if you're a single member LLC, if you're the only one involved in the business. You have ideas and thoughts that run through your head constantly. I know that. And so, just like a big company, it's going to be handled in a little different way, obviously, but it's just as important that you set goals, that you have a plan laid out of how you're going to be successful and how you're going to deal with your customers to keep them happy. How does planning help management? Again, I don't care if you're the only manager or if you have manager employees underneath you. It gets everybody's thoughts organized and moving in the right direction. And can't I hire someone to do this for me? Well, there are people that are out there that are willing to do that for you. And if you've ever been out on the internet and you've Googled business plans, there will be lots and lots of ads that pop up for someone to write your business plan. Yes, someone can write it for you. But let me give you a couple examples of my experiences. Those companies generally have boilerplates for certain sectors of businesses. And so they will use them and they will basically plug in, it's a plug and play. They'll plug in your location and the name of your business and basically keep everything else the same using national demographics, using national percentages of profit, of loss, whatever. Well, I think you and I both know that there's quite a difference if we're looking at, let's say, Salt Lake City or Tampa, Florida, or New York City, or if we're looking at Northwest Ohio. And so those aren't all necessarily true. So we really need to delve into our particular business in our particular area and who is our competition in our local area. I've also seen people that, against my recommendation, have gone out and paid people, some upwards of thousands of dollars. I've never seen one done for less than 700. And they've come back and said, hey, I got my business plan finished. And I literally, by the time I was reading it and got to the second or third page, this company had forgotten to change both their business name and their location. And so, in my opinion, there is no one else that can write your business plan for you. As a matter of fact, I tell my clients, this is your business plan. I will be another set of eyes to help guide you and make sure that you've dotted your I's and crossed your T's. But if you and I were both to write a business plan for the same business, and I'll just take a beauty salon as an example, what I might want to see in my beauty salon is totally different than what you may see. May want to have employees, while you may want to have contracted stylists. I may want to see the walls painted pink and purple. You may want black and grays. And so, no, we cannot have anyone else do it because it's individualized to you and your business. And as we'll see again in a little more depth later, you do involve those who are working with you, okay? And Tara's got a good point. Your business plan is a way to put your vision onto paper. That's right. You've got hundreds of ideas and thoughts running through your head as you're trying to lay this out and as you're trying to grow it. And unless you write them down, they're going to be just that. They're going to be swimming around in there. They're going to be bumping into each other. They're not going to make any sense. And so by putting them down in an organized manner, it again moves everybody in the right direction, whether that's just you or if that is your family, who is very important in your decisions, and or employees. And so why is planning so important? Just for that reason. Gets everybody on the same page, working towards the same goals in a planned, organized manner. You may ask, how can I know all the answers? Well, you don't know all of the answers, but there are fortunately many, many places to research, many free sources of information, including the Chamber of Commerce and the Small Business Development Center, who are here to help you find the resources so that you do know the answers, and they're educated answers. How often do I have to do this? Well, it depends. How often do you want to grow your business? How often do you want to diversify or go into a new product or service? Every time you do that in a major sort of way, I recommend that you do a business plan. Now, again, once you've got the groundwork laid, like we're going to do over the next 6 weeks, it's very easy to go back in, strike a sentence, strike a goal, revisit it. And speaking of goals, when you reach a goal, you're going to want to reestablish new goals because you never want to stop having goals. If you stop having goals, I guarantee you your business will fail. And we'll talk much more in depth about goals later. So how often do you do this? At the very, very minimum, I suggest that you sit down and read it and redo it at least once a year. Again, at a very minimal. As quickly as this economy is turning, as quickly as the world goes, I suggest you do it every 6 months. And as you lay out your goals, it depends on how far you've set them out. We should be looking at short-term goals, which will be within 1 year. And so hopefully you will achieve those at some intervals during the year, maybe 3 months, maybe 4 months, maybe 6 months, whatever. But again, in that way, we need to use it and keep tweaking it. And what's in it for me? Success. It's very simple. 30% more successful if you write and follow a written business plan. So what's in it for you? Nothing but success. Basically, there's 8 reasons to do a business plan. I've just given you several. Let's see in the chat box, what are some of the reasons that we should do a business plan? Set goals, absolutely. Putting your vision onto paper again, yep. Anybody else? Raise your hand. We can unmute you and you can just say it. Absolutely. Get focused, set goals, show if your plan will keep working as we can tweak it. Clear vision. That's excellent. Provide a template moving into the future. Yes. I happen to know that Audra had some big changes last year as the pandemic hit. And she's joining us again to get that business plan tweaked and rewritten. So the top 10 reasons to do a business plan: get your thoughts organized. It will force you to take a good look at the business. It may not be all, again, rosy in what you want to see, but it'll be a clear picture of your business. It can be used as a feasibility study or help continue success, which goes with what Audra said, provide a template moving into the future. It's a good tool for better management. Whether, again, you're a single manager or you've got management staff underneath you, it's a good tool for all of you. It helps communicate your ideas, both, again, to your family, to your employees, to your banker, investor. It helps you move from reactive to proactive. So we're on top of things. We're not saying, oh, wow, that didn't work. But instead, we're saying, how can we make this work? What am I planning to do so that we can overcome this? It points everyone in the same direction. It helps identify opportunities that you may not be seeing by doing the essential research, backgrounds, focuses attention on important questions instead of the things that really don't matter. And again, most of all, businesses are 30% more successful. Of all those obstacles that we looked at earlier, why a business would fail, anything we can do to get 30% more successful and is very important to the success of our business. Some tips for successful in planning include you have to believe planning is important. If you don't believe that, you're going to do it half-heartedly and it's not going to be worthwhile for your time and energy that you must commit to get it done. I'm not telling you, nor have I ever heard anyone say that it's easy, but I have time and time again heard how wonderful of a tool it is and how it has really helped businesses grow and succeed. You need to involve everyone. Everyone that it will be touched by the business should be involved in the writing of your business plan. Again, that may be your closest friends or your support system or your family. And believe me, if you're going to go into business, your family is very much going to be affected. And so they should be involved. What is their vision? What do they see? So that they clearly understand what the commitment is that they're doing and what your expectations are for them. And those expectations should be real. We don't want to paint and write a pie in the sky um, goals and business plan, because all we're going to do is disappoint ourselves and set ourselves up for failure. Rather, we want them to be realistic. I always say, just like a baby, we have to crawl before we walk, before we run. And so we take baby steps. We start with small, realistic goals and expectations. And when we achieve those, we grow them. We make them more difficult. We make them a little bit larger. And that's what keeps us moving forward. And we have to be open to discovering disappointing news and to making adjustments. We're not necessarily going to hit every single goal we want. And heavens knows, last year, those people that made goals for 2020, the rug was pulled out from under them. It was very disappointing, but we need to make adjustments then, like many of the restaurants and retail businesses did, with curbside delivery, with private appointments in furniture stores, so that you could come and shop without having to be concerned about being in the presence of others. Many good reasons for doing successful planning. And so if we keep these in mind as we're working through our business plan, it will make it much simpler for us to do. Okay, so now we have this business plan, which typically will end up being about 21 pages in a written business plan. And while that sounds overwhelming now, believe me, as we start working through it, things will just happen. And all of a sudden, many times my clients are asked to cut theirs back because it has become too much detail, because they're so passionate about what they're doing and they want to write it down and share it with everybody. So in these 21 pages that we have worked diligently to complete, what are we going to do with it now? How do we use it? Well, we use it as a feasibility study. And that's the first thing we do for a startup. We go through this exercise so that we can see, is this feasible to operate this business and make my profits and pay my bills the way that I foresee it? Or is it just a perceived business that I think the public wants? It's a benchmark to track your performance. So maybe we didn't hit that goal. Well, let's go back and look at our business plan. What did we say we were going to do? Perhaps it was attend 2 trade shows, and perhaps we weren't able to attend those trade shows. Well, that probably cut down on the amount of leads that we got and perhaps on the amount of sales we got. So let's look at that and say, what can we do differently? It's also a constant reminder of our goals. again, when you're passionate about it, when you see opportunities, we have a tendency to start throwing darts. And that is not being organized. That is not following your business plan. If you need to go back in and tweak that business plan and revise your goals, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But it helps us stay on track and reminds us of what those goals are. It also helps us assign priorities. There are many, many things that need to be tackled every day as an entrepreneur. And so, what are those things that are important that are going to help us reach our goals and be successful? And obviously, it's a financing proposal. So, if you're looking for investors, or if you're looking to go to a bank to get a traditional bank loan, they need to understand that you understand how you're going to be able to pay that money back. And so, what path are you going to follow that makes the money that you're projecting in your cash flows, that proves to them that you can repay the money they are lending you? And that is through your written business plan. So your words in your business plan are going to match your financial projections as well. And it is a very good means and required, quite frankly, as a financing proposal. And so, in order to know if this business is actually feasible, we need to research our industry. We need to get the big picture. Some of the ways we can do that is look at the consumer trends in the past 5 years in our particular business code. And I say code, so what is our business sector? Look at the consumer trends in the past 5 years. Let's take a retail sector as an example, and type in the chat box for me a couple of trends that you have seen in the retail sector in the last 5 years. Absolutely. Online buying, that is the number one thing. Um, More video, audio around sales. You're right. They're becoming interactive. So it's not just a magazine that you're looking at an ad, but it becomes interactive. Make you feel like you're a part of it. And that's done basically online, right? What happened when the internet became popular, when the computers became, everybody was on the internet? Instantly, the whole world was your competition if you were in retail. So no longer did you have the person down the street or in the next county or 30 miles away, but now it's worldwide. And so what can we do to ensure that we're getting those retail customers as opposed to the box shops online? What are some thoughts that you have? What could you do to keep your customers in your retail store?
How to keep them engaged, maybe offer rewards.
Right, the loyalty programs that we talked about. That's a very good one. Again, curbside delivery. Maybe it's delivered to their home, okay, so that you can keep up with the shipping if that is something that's feasible to do. So promotions, special events, things you can't experience online. And I like that word, Audra, experience. So what we need to do to compete with online buying, and again, I'm talking whether it is a retail product or a service, is offer things that you can't experience online. Okay, make it an experience. So it doesn't become a shopping trip, but rather it becomes an experience. And you'll see that happening. Let's just use for an example the Easton Mall in Columbus. What have they done to make it so you're not just going to the store? They have put in lots of things for entertainment, right? For dining, indoors and outdoors, for family entertainment. So it becomes an experience. People will travel a long distance so that they can experience that. And you too can do that in your own single location. And if you are running an online business or an at home business, which is very popular these days, particularly until it grows to the point of needing maybe a brick and mortar store or a standalone location, you can still offer those experiences by doing some of the things that Audra said. Send them a private video, okay? Keep in touch with them. I guarantee you Amazon is starting to do that more and more. They're saying, hey, how was that product that you received? What did you think about our service? Keep track of birthdays, anniversaries. People love that recognition. Insurance companies have done that for years. Send you a postcard. And now many of them are going to online. There's actually companies that help you do that. Some in our very local area. You can contract with them, give them a list of dates from your customers, and they can handle that part for you because you're wearing many, many hats, right? As a business owner. So maybe that isn't your forte, or maybe that, you don't have time to do that. But that's a warm fuzzy that everybody likes to get. And they'll remember that when it comes time to choosing where they're going to go for their next product or services. Change it up, keep it fresh. Don't have the same thing year after year. Changes don't mean getting rid of something that is one of your best sellers, but again, tweaking it, adding something to it, making it better perceived. An example is I can buy a bag of Hershey Kisses and bring it home to my husband and give him Hershey's Kisses, or I can put him in a nice little gift box and he opens up a whole box of kisses. Which ones are going to be more liked? Well, actually, to my husband, he could probably care less, but let's reverse that role. And let's say if my husband was bringing me chocolate, okay, I'm going to feel better opening up that cute little box that's filled with chocolate candy. That warms me. And you're right. People remember how you make them feel. That's right. It's all about the personal touch. So there are government regulations and tax issues. What are those? Do you see anything coming down the pike? Obviously, if we were considering opening a gas station, we would be concerned about those new regulations and tax issues with our new leaders in government. We've already seen some major changes from what's happened historically. And so we have to be concerned about those and making a decision if that's what we want to do. Changes in the costs and price. Okay, so prices and the cost of supplies. Sometimes if those go up so high, we can't afford to compete because we can't buy them in volume. So then we look and say, hey, and I know some people that got very creative in doing this. Standalone, they can't do it, but they formed a consortium with similar or like businesses in their area, and they have a common drop-off point. So everybody pays for their own, but somebody takes the lead, places the order. They get a large order. You go up and pick up the things that belong to you, pay for them, and you're able to be more competitive with the guys that buy in large bulk quantities. So we have to look at all those things that are happening in our industry, and we have to understand what that is. Identify your trade associations. Almost every single type of product or services has a trade association, and that you can garner a ton of information through them. Some of it is available without joining the trade association. There's publications and papers that are out online that you can find for free. But sometimes by joining, and I'll include your local chamber of commerce, there are like businesses in there that you will be able to share things with, and they address the needs of their local businesses. So let's not forget them. Obtain financial benchmarks. As I said, when I was referring to someone else building the business plan for you, they might be different in Salt Lake City than they are in Lima, Ohio. We know they are. So let's garner as much information as we can that is available about the financial benchmarks in our particular service area. Who are our competitors? We need to know who they are first so that we can know how we can deal with them, right? How we can stay ahead of our competition, as we said. What can we do to diversify, or what service or additional add-on can we do that's going to give us a leg up or a dollar ahead of our competitors? And then obtain trade area information. So I will tell you that we are very fortunate to have a subscription to a service through the Small Business Development Center that, again, is available at no charge. And basically what we do is we'll request some trade area information, some financial benchmarks for as close as can be available in our area. And so we send them your NAICS code, which is the North America Industry Identification Code, right? So if you're in, again, I'll just use retail and say it's you're selling retail shoes, that has a particular 6-digit number that would be different if you're in selling workout clothes. Okay. So we send them that NAICS code and they put together a report that will give you valuable information that will help you as you proceed and plan your business. One of the downfalls is because they are a national company and the SBDCs all over the nation are requesting this information. Sometimes it can take 4 to 6 weeks to obtain it. And so, for all intents and purposes, to complete your business plan in 6 weeks, we may not be able to incorporate it. But as we've already learned this morning, that business plan is always available to be tweaked. And we can certainly refine that and add that information as it becomes available to us. So if you're interested in that, certainly shoot an email to Nicole or I, and we'll be happy to get that process started for you. We need to draw industry conclusions. So how was the industry developed? What is the past history in our particular businesses? How do small businesses operate within this industry? What are the current growth patterns in the industry? Very, very important. If you're getting to the game a bit late, it may not be the right time to join that market. What is the industry size at the present and what's projected a year from now, 5 years from now? And you might say, well, how do I know that information? Remember, we said you're not going to know all of the information, but you're going to use those trade associations, the small business development centers, your chamber of commerces, your economic development partners in our area. And you're going to look at the statistics that they have garnered and gain that kind of information so you know how to plan. So we're not just, again, throwing darts at a dartboard, but we have some educated basis for making our projections and our goals. And then we find that they're realistic. If they're projecting that the industry itself is going to grow 5% over the next year, and we project that we're going to grow 10% over the next year, is that really practical? Does that make sense? That our local individualized small business is going to grow more than the industry itself? Probably not. So we want to look at the parameters that are projected for the entire industry and try to work within those parameters and see if our business plan is feasible based on what those are. So are there any niche markets that are hot right now? One of the big ones that we've seen over the past couple of years, which just has continued to have upward trends, is fitness, exercise, and healthy eating, right? What are a couple others that you feel are niche markets right now that are hot, that might be a good industry to get into? Anybody? Do it yourself. Absolutely. Mental health and wellness. You're right. That is correct. There's been a lot of issues that are affecting our mental health. Again, partly because of society that is moving so quickly. We don't even know what happened yesterday, right? And we're supposed to keep up with today and tomorrow. Yes, that is correct. Healthy body is a healthy mind. Healthy mind makes a healthy body. Well, hopefully you've thought of some in your own mind, and perhaps even in your own industry that are niche and that are making it hot right now. How has and will international trade impact your industry? If your product needs some imports, certainly things have been changed, right? Again, that may be at the expense of the government, but nonetheless, they have changed. And so we have to look ahead and say, how might that impact us? Or if it's a product that becomes difficult to get. I know a few years back, steel was a prime example. It was very, very hard to get steel products that were being imported, and it put the industry way behind. That is very, very good to know. And what might be on the horizon that might change what those regulations are so that we can overcome those before they actually impact our business. And there that leads into, and I was a step ahead of myself, new government regulations that might impact the industry. And again, I'll go back to the gas station. So for instance, a year or two ago, when the state of Ohio implemented a new tax, a road tax on gasoline at the pumps, and particularly for our major transportation and semi hauling, that certainly made an impact on what happened and how product was being transported cross country for many of those industries. How will technology impact your industry and the small businesses within it? We've talked about that a couple of times with the internet, making it an international market. Also, Audra mentioned the videos, right? How can that impact some of the larger fitness facilities, for instance, during the pandemic when they were not permitted to be open? They went to an online subscription service, right? I know I have a client that does some martial arts training, and they went to that just to keep their business afloat so that they could continue to be in front of their customers. And so is that something that you could maybe implement into your business? Okay, again, I indicated, we aren't able to have these kind of numbers gathered in one location yet at this time. And so with Nicole's help, we've been able to take this virtual and still deliver the products and services that we want to our small business community. Do we have any questions at this point? We're kind of going to jump to a little bit different topic now. So yes, Audra, Zooming with clients from a live class, you're absolutely right. And I know you've implemented that yourself. Good for you. Any questions anyone has? Again, we'll take questions at the end. I'm just giving you a little break here. All right. Well, seeing none, we'll move on then. So market research is very important. We have to learn who our customer is, know how they buy, where they buy, what they buy, when they buy, why do they buy it, how often do they buy it, and how much do they buy. Those are all important decisions in going into figuring our feasibility for our businesses. So obviously we need to know who it is. Is it somebody that's in their 30 to 50s? Or if we're trying to fill an assisted living center, obviously that's the wrong market, right? We're going to be looking at those people that are maybe, of retirement age and above. So maybe it's 65 to 80. And then I'll use that example and also say, from my personal experience, when my parents were looking to move into a facility, we really think that they build those things to appeal to the children. And so maybe it is the people that we have to attract who are in their 50s or 60s, because they may be helping their parents make the decision about which facility to choose. Okay. Where do they buy? Is it online? And how can we compete? Or is it in a brick and mortar? When do they buy? It just is amazing to me how, let's take a brick and mortar retail store, is open from 9 to 5 when the majority of people are also working 9 to 5. So how do we expect them to come in and purchase from us if we're not open when they're off work? So we might have to consider that. What makes more sense? Is it a 10 to 8 so you catch them over their lunch hour and after they get off work? Those are things that you need to consider for your industry. How often do they buy it? Depends on the product or service that you're selling, right? If you're selling an automobile, obviously it's purchased much less frequent than if you're selling groceries. And how much do they buy? Do they buy 2 automobiles at a time? Or do they buy $150 worth of groceries every week? Okay. Those are all important decisions so that we can plan our cash flow. And what is the average sale? If we're in a restaurant, for instance, what is the average tab? So we know we have to do X amount of those average tabs every day in order to make our business feasible. To Raven's question, I was thinking we went from, oh, you're right. We said an hour apiece, didn't we? 10 to 11. And I apologize for that. We are running over. Again, I'm passionate with what I do. And so therefore I have a tendency to ramble on. So please bear with me. What I'm going to do now, again, this has been recorded. I'm going to stop where we are today. We'll work it into next week's session. But I do want to flip down, if you'll bear with me quickly. We're going to move forward so that I can show you the written business plan, and we will have that available for you so that you can do the implementation of that plan. Actually, Nicole, what I'd like to do is we'll send it out to all of the registrants, that will send the template out to them.
Okay.
Okay. And you'll be able to work on that at that point. Thank you, Nicole, for putting that link in there. But you
Absolutely.
just go to theroadstate.edu. And when you click on that, you're going to go to the menu. You're going to go to community. And we're going to go down to the Small Business Development Center. Look under tools and resources, and we'll find the business plan. That will automatically download for you, and you can open that file. It is in a Word document, so you should be able to save it to your computer and work on that as time becomes available. And we're going to enable that, and so we can look at it in this format. And so what I would like you to work on this week for your implementation is sections 2 and 3. So your mission, goals, and objectives, and also the background information. Okay. The background information is probably the most important because that is readily available, and the business history. And then we will get more into the mission, goals, and your vision the next time. But I'd like you to get started on that so then it doesn't become so cumbersome as we go through it, and you'll just be able to tweak that. Okay. So again, we will send this to each of your email boxes. So if you choose not to go download it from the Road State site, you will have it accessible to you.
And we'll also send a copy of this recording. It will be password protected, so you will have that available for your viewing as well. Thank you, everybody, for being here today. Thank you, Kathy, for your intellect. And we hope to see you all next week, Tuesday at 10 a.m. And in the meantime, by all means, please reach out to us by email, and I'll make sure that in the email that I send you that you have both of our emails as well. So have a wonderful day, and we will talk to you soon. Thank
Thanks,
you.
everyone. Have a great day.
You too. Bye-bye.